Let's go ahead and get started. Welcome to Rebel 11. My name is Joni Parsons, co-creator, along with Monica Smith. Monica, do you want to say hello?
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us this evening.
She's in the desert today, so a little different than the evergreen state here in Washington.
Yeah, it's a little strange to think about holiday decorations.
Well, I really hope that you had a lovely Thanksgiving. And here we are already talking about December, the month of wonder, lots of food and lights and festivities and decorations, which is why we're here today. I met Sue Stark in Bozeman, Montana a couple of months ago, and I was just so impressed with her company called the Wild Blume, along with her own initiative, as well as many others across the states, to buy local for your flowers and to be really aware of where our flowers come from, flowers and foliage. So today, this morning, I went down to the wholesale growers here in Seattle and bought some beautiful things for wreath making, just right here to get us started tonight. But this is one of my favorite topics, and Sue, I'm just so honored that you said yes to join us today, and very excited about the next hour with you talking about wreath making and also tablescaping. So welcome.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited about this. As she mentioned, we were at a retreat together, and we started talking flowers immediately. So when you reached out to me, I was honored. Yeah, so I'm excited to talk about wreaths and answer any questions you have and talk about tablescapes.
Wonderful. So first of all, I want to invite everyone to, make sure and put your questions in the chat as we go along. I'm sure that you'll have a lot of them, but I'd really like to get started, Sue, by having you tell us really when was your first discovery of your love of flowers?
I mean, it sounds a little cliche maybe, but my mom had a green thumb. We grew up and she was always outside. I remember I grew up in the Midwest. She had just like fields of lily of the valley and iris that came every spring, and she always had fresh flowers in the house. So I think that was like the seeding of my love of floral. I then, life kind of happened, and when we moved out west about 10 years ago, we moved to the mountains, and every time we hit the trail in the summer and all of the wildflowers were blooming, it really just ignited the fire and got me really interested in wanting to start a flower business.
When did you make your own bouquet or wreath?
Say that again?
When did you first make your first bouquet? Like when was that? Were you 10 or were you 20?
Well, I mean, realistically, probably like in college, I would play around with some friends if we were having dinner parties or, whatever you call a dinner party when you're in your 20s. But I didn't really get into it until I started the business. I dove headfirst into learning design and learning all of it all at the same time. So
tell us about your journey from flower lover to entrepreneur. How does that happen?
So I was in sales for 10 years for a really big publishing company, and I was starting to get burned out in my early 30s, and just knew that there was something different. And when I realized I had so much time still left in my career, I thought, what do I love? What would I love to do for a long time? And flowers was the thing that kept reoccurring in my mind. So I worked at the sale for the publishing company for another couple of years and did both. I was working really long hours, and then finally took the plunge probably 5 years ago now, and haven't really looked back.
And that's when you started the Wild Blume, right? So tell us about the Wild Blume.
So the Wild Blume is a floral event studio. We primarily do weddings and event floral. All through the year, we have a really vibrant wedding community here, wedding destination weddings and whatnot. I do a lot of seasonal things. So right now we're actually working on wreaths to deliver all day tomorrow and for the rest of the month. We do small dinner parties, things like that. But our main thing is weddings and large events.
And just recently, when we met, you were talking about, I'm starting this new company, and ultimately you just launched 2 weeks ago. So tell us about the Wild Tables.
So the wild tables are thoughtfully curated tablescapes delivered to your door. They come with everything that you would need for a small dinner party up to 10. You could get multiple boxes if you had 30, 40 people. They come with everything you'll need, including like a table runner, linen napkins, some greenery or some sort of organic, natural thing that's going to go in the middle of the table. So like think about flowers, which is this time of year, I use a lot of evergreens, and then candles, multiple different kinds of candles. So when you get it, it's really beautifully packaged. You open it up, you can set your table. It comes with really nice instructions. If you have any questions, I know I always look back at them every time I'm setting, like where do the forks and knives go again? So everything's really beautifully boxed up and ready for you to concentrate on the other things, on the food and on your guests coming.
It's just such an easy way to get ready for a dinner party and have the festivities all set for you. So thank you for sharing about your new company. I'm thrilled with it. I can't wait to order something off of your new website. But now we're going to be talking about wreath making, and then we're going to talk about tablescaping in a little bit. But I know I have some accessories here that are very empty, so let's get started. And you can either follow along or just watch this, take notes, and do it later.
Yes, so my favorite vase for making wreaths is a grapevine vase. You can buy them pretty much anywhere, Michael's, Joanne's, any local floral place might have them. They come in multiple different sizes. This is a 24-inch. This is going to be for like a big front door or potentially for like a big wall in your house. They come in anything from, I think, like 10 up to like 36, probably even bigger. But this is a 24-inch. This is what we're basically sending everything out for Wild Blume this season. The reason that I choose to use grapevine over other wreath forms that you can find, like they have wire forms, you can make your own moss forms, which I do like those as well. But the reason I like these is honestly because it's easier. The thing about floral arranging and floral design, generally speaking, the thing that makes it different from you buying flowers at your grocery store and cutting them, snipping them and just tossing them into a vase and them looking like they're just kind of out there, to what you receive from a florist or you see at maybe like a wedding, is mechanics. And what I mean by mechanics is the thing that is going to hold that element, flower, greenery, tidbit of whatever you're putting into there in place where you want it to be. I hope that makes sense. I've never done an online workshop like this. I usually am in person. So.
Well, Sue, I think it will make more sense as we go along. So,
okay. So here's
ask Sue to do from start to finish. So
yeah, start to finish. So blank wreath, 24-inch. I'll just quickly go through all of the things that I have that I'm going to use to create this wreath. This is our Magnolia. This is the one that we're doing for Bozeman this year. We're calling it the Magnolia. We have two different kinds of greenery. I've got a Doug fir. You'll see it has multiple different kind of pieces. It has like it has a lot of needles. It lays a little flat, but it can get some dimension to it. The other greenery that I'm using is a Princess Pine. So the Princess Pine is different, you can tell immediately. Mm-hmm. The Princess Pine is really long needles. It has a very specific shape, long, kind of in like one sweeping motion. And additionally, the reason that I use it is because it's a bit of a different color, it's darker. I like to use at least two different kinds of greenery when I'm creating. I think that it adds some depth to whatever the design is. In this case, I like these two because I like the color contrast and I like the small needling versus like the really long needling. So that's why I chose these. And then the third foliage that I'm going to use for the Magnolia is Magnolia. Mm. Yeah, so this is Magnolia Leaves. You probably are familiar. Magnolia.
Are those dried?
These are not dried.
Oh, they're,
They just-
okay,
this
so
is
you
just
just,
how they are. They just have a really thick, leathery feeling, and they're hard too. They hold water really well, so they dry really. They'll stay like this for all winter. They keep all of their color too, which is another reason that I love them. Okay, so we have all of these elements. I'm also going to be using pine cones, which everybody knows what pine cones look like. Pine cones. And then I have the next element is I've got some bells. And then the cherry on top is some gold velvet ribbon.
nice.
This does not have wire in it, so this is going to lay really loosely, but I like wire as well, especially if you like to have a stronger form to it. So these are the elements that we'll be using today to create this wreath. The tools that I'm going to be using are a pair of snips. Then I have some wire. I think if you're following along on the list, there was paddle wire, 24-inch gauge paddle wire. It just means it's like on I have some over in the.
Is this it? Is this what it is? See like that?
I can't, for some reason, I can't see you right now.
Okay, it's just, all right, that's okay.
Oh, hold on.
Continue on.
There you are. I see you now.
Oh, okay. So I
Yeah,
got some of
That's
this. So,
perfect.
yeah.
Exactly. So this is the same thing, just already pre-cut straight wire. So to get started, what I like to do is I like to get all of my little elements ready to go. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time getting my pine cones wired. I'm just going to show you how this happens really quickly. I take my wire, you've got your pine cone, and you basically just tuck in around the bottom, the base of the pine cone with the wire. You give it a little twist, and then you can leave the pieces extended. You can see that.
Okay.
So I'm going to do that on a couple of them. If I start to talk too fast, just let me know. I have a tendency to do that.
That's okay. We'll keep up with you. And love to know if people are following along. I'm going to do it as we go along since I have the materials here today. I was wondering if anybody else is online. But so I'm just wrapping. I got a littler ones from our property where we have all of our retreats. So just little things today.
Yeah, so you'll basically just do the same. I would say, depending on the wreath size, I'm probably going to have about 10 at the end of when the wreath is finished. I'll probably have close to 10. So I'm just going to do a couple more.
And I just wanted to say, Sue, while you're doing that, I went out and did a little shopping at, our local Joanne's and got all these different types of ribbon today, and they were all 60% off, just saying. So anyway, there's all sorts of options.
Yes, you can go. We have another wreath that we're doing this year, and it's striped. It's a little bit more modern. We have a striped ribbon that we're going to do. But I also was at Michael's yesterday, and I don't know, I think I'm looking at like 10 different colors. I'm teaching 4 more workshops. I'm teaching 4 workshops this week on top of this. They're all in person finally again.
And those are in Bozeman, right?
They're all in Bozeman. Yeah.
We're so lucky to have Sue online today.
Yeah. I'm excited. This is the kickoff of my workshops. I used to do a lot more workshops, but when COVID hit, obviously everything got halted. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2 more. Okay.
So I have all different sizes of.
Which is fun.
Yeah. So I even have a little baby one. We got all sorts of them.
Okay, so I have all of my pine cones ready to go for when I'm ready for that. And you'll see when we start to do that, the other reason that it's really nice to do the grapevine, because it's easy to have a connection point with the grapevine. Okay, so my next My next prep step is I have this leather. This is just like a leather spool. Again, you can get it at Michael's or any of those local places. I'm going to use this for my bells. So I basically just have a little go through.
That's so cute.
And
And
these
where'd
are-
you get those bells at?
What's that?
Where did you get the bells at?
I have been sourcing them from different places. These I bought online. And I can send some links to you too if you want to see sort of where I source things from.
Oh, great. Okay.
Yeah, I just found these online. I've been using them for years. So yeah, so now I do use two different lengths. So now I've got the bells ready. I'm gonna set those aside.
Nice.
It's basically like when you're cooking, like mise en place.
So
Okay.
somebody said that they're watching from Mexico. Her name's Terry.
Oh, Terry, from Mexico City?
Yes.
Ah, hi. I met Terry in Mexico City at a flower workshop. We did like maybe 4 or 5 years ago.
Oh,
No,
that's
no,
terrific.
maybe two or 3 years ago. We were doing a flower workshop. It was sort of this like large installation, and then so it was an old apartment building, and all of these like really big designers from all over came down, and there was 5 of them, and we all got on teams, and then we did all of these big floral installations, all like in all of the apartments. And then people came in and paid money to walk through this experience. And then all of the money was donated to a local children's hospital.
Oh, that sounds fantastic.
Yeah, pretty amazing. It was inspired by the Flower House Detroit. So if you haven't looked it up, look up the Flower House Detroit or the Flower House Mexico. That's the one that we,
Okay.
that's the one I met Terry at. And so now I message her every time I'm going to Mexico City.
I just put those in the
Now,
chat.
basically what I'm doing is I'm just cutting a few pieces off of the big branch of the Doug fir so that once I start going, I can pretty much just cruise through this.
And are you wiring those together as you go?
I am not going to wire these together. Again, if we were using a different like format, like if we had the wire form, we would probably have to do some of that. But again, that's the beauty of the grapevine.
And Sue, can you show us how big of an amount that you're cutting off? Is it like a foot each?
So so here's my branch. I'm basically cutting it at the base.
Got it. Okay.
And then
So
for
you're
the
using
top,
those smaller
for the
pieces.
top, I'll cut it about like 10 inches, 10 inches to a foot. I don't always use the really small pieces unless I have to like go back through and fill things in. So I don't throw anything away. I just put it aside.
Okay. And please feel free to write any questions that you have in the chat, and we'll talk about it as we go. I'm going to grab some of my materials here as well.
Should have probably decided to do a smaller wreath, but here we are.
What did you just say, Sue? Sorry.
I said I probably should have done the smaller wreath, but here we are.
Here we are. I got a little bit of everything. I got some salal and I got some eucalyptus,
nice.
so you can use probably
You're in
whatever.
Seattle today, you said, huh?
What was that?
Will you spend the holidays in Seattle then?
Yeah, we were up in Roslyn where we have a lot of our retreats, and just did a beautiful friends and family for like 5 days. How about you?
We'll be here. We don't really travel anymore at the holidays. It always just becomes Bozeman to anywhere with all of the snow. And it's so unpredictable.
So do you guys have any snow yet?
Oh, it is a non-snowy year. We have had snow, there's snow up high, but usually by now we're hitting the ski hill and that is not happening right now.
Yeah, we're not getting much either.
Okay, so I'm just put out the pine. It's all pretty good. I actually ordered tips. So you can order full boughs, which would be like a whole branch, or you can order the tips. To make it easy and less work on me this year, I did the tips. I will say this, if you are following along or if you haven't and you are going to do this later, I would suggest, if you don't like to get your hands dirty, using gloves. My hands are already getting really sappy.
Okay, good question for you. How do you take sap off of your hands? What's the best way?
I just a lot of soap and water. I mean, it usually comes off pretty easy. Where it doesn't come off of though is your clothes. So it's always a good idea to also potentially wear a apron. I not, but so it goes.
So it goes. I heard that butter is a good way to take off pitch, but I'm not sure that that's accurate.
You've heard what is?
Butter?
Oh, okay.
Who knows?
Does butter also like get stuck in your clothes?
I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe that's an old one.
Okay. So when I'm thinking about how I want to design, this is, I think maybe the third or fifth reason that I like grapevines. The next reason that I like grapevines is because they do really look pretty when they're exposed. So you're not really required when using a grapevine to put greenery or floral or whatever you're using all the way around. I do quite a few where we just do 3/4, or we can just do like a little swag and have the rest of it exposed. So when I'm thinking about what I'm doing, I'm always considering those things. Do I like it? Do I want to show a little bit of it off? The last several years, all of our designs had some of it off. So this year I'm going all the way around, but again, you don't have to. So if you're thinking about just kind of doing it 3/4, if you start here, you have the option of, having it hanging in multiple different ways. And you'll see once I get started what I'm going to do. So again, I'm going to go all the way around this time. Okay. I've got my 2 different green bases, and then I've got my magnolia. I'm going to save the magnolia till the end to just put as accents. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with my base, which is my Doug fir, which is going to give me most form and the most
texture.
Yeah, texture. It'll give me the most texture. And then I use that, and then I just accent that with the princess pine on top of it, basically. So now you can see what I'm talking about, how easy this is. So you're basically just gonna put in your greenery. And what I like to do is I like to go in one direction, and I like to build on top of. So I have my piece of greenery laying here, and I put the next piece of greenery in front of that greenery. It's not required. I kind of just find it easier to layer like that rather than tucking it behind. Not that it's fine if you decide or you start going in the other way. I feel like a lot of times people do. So I'm just gonna start and put some greenery in just to get like a really nice base. Always think about the back too. Think about, right now, if I just go in the same layer that I'm going right now, it'll be fine. But if you add things up high, like to the back, so you'll see, for example, you can see how there's this much space on the top of it. If you put a few pieces in those spaces, it'll add depth. More depth.
Those are just like little extra pieces, right? Not necessarily the longer ones.
Yep. But right now I'll continue on with these bigger pieces. Kind of like the base. Always kind of taking a look at it. I like to fuss a lot with things.
What are your other favorites to put into wreaths as far as greenery?
I love eucalyptus in greenery. It dries really well. I think any kind of evergreen is really nice. Spruce, cedar, all of those are really, really nice and, you know, will last for a while. Some of them end up shedding a little bit more quickly. And some of them have different kind of the way the stems do, like some cedar gets really floppy. So I don't like to use it as much because it ends up, when you hold it up, it falls off in the other direction. So like these will stay in the direction right at any point of where you turn it and hang it.
Okay, so you don't have to take the extra time to make sure it's laying right. Right.
There's like an unruly piece that I think is too unruly, which this guy's not necessarily. But speaking of cedar or eucalyptus, you can always pull one of your pieces of your grapevine up. Can you see that? Yeah. And then you can always tuck, because these are really malleable. That's why I like duck fur as well. It's very, very malleable. So it'll kind of, it's your friend. Eucalyptus is also quite malleable.
And then speaking of long lasting, how long do these types of wreaths usually last?
Oh, they'll last for until you're done with it. As long as you don't have it in like a high traffic, people are brushing up on it all the time. I mean, the front door, even on the front door, they'll last for a long time. I have people come to like fall workshops and they'll come into the next fall workshop or next winter workshop and they'll still be hanging up on their doors. So I like to use things that last a long time, especially when we have such long winters.
Right. We have people from all over the country here, so.
Yeah, and these would last, and I mean, things are going to be a little bit different in different environments. I mean, cool flowers and such prefer cooler weather once they're cut. It's like fruit or like food. So if you ever get fresh floral, try to keep it cool, out of wind.
And of course, the thing I got today was cedar. So because I didn't
love cedar.
Yeah, but it is a little unruly, I have to say.
Oh, so you see how it's like kind of floppy?
Yep.
Yeah. So I would just say if you cut the stems just a little bit shorter, and then you can also do that tucking that I was just showing you, because one side of it's going to be beautiful and it's going to lay really well. The other side of it's just going to kind of fall with gravity. And that's the side you can just wire around it a little bit or tuck it into the grapevine a little bit more.
Okay. Good tip.
Okay, so now you can see that the base is starting. It's still a little wild. However, you can see what I'm talking about, that if you only wanted to do like 3/4 of it, that's a possibility. You could start to move into like your ornaments or whatever other things. You could put ornaments. You can put anything into a wreath, really.
I think it's so beautiful to do. I think it's so beautiful to do both, you know, like a 3/4 or, you know, it's just like whatever your style is, just go for it, right?
That is the beauty of wreaths, and I think all sort of like floral design. We teach quite a few floral design workshops as well, and it's so fun. It's so fun to see different people, like people's personalities come out and how they design. It's one of my favorite things.
I bet.
Do that flower crown workshop at the retreat.
Yeah. I know. So when she's talking about a retreat that we both I attended and she was presenting at, called Dare to Detour. And we just had so much fun making wreaths for our head. So, so we decorated hats and we did all sorts of fun things with dried flowers.
Yes. But just so much personality. That's the beauty of all of this.
And we would love to invite everyone to, once they have done their wreath, to put it on our group, send them to me, or you can put it on Rebel 11 Revelers private group. So I'm going to put mine on the private group so we can share all of our creativity and you can see for yourself how creative this group is.
I would love to see.
And then we'll send those to you and make sure, Sue, that you see them as well.
Oh, I would love that.
Again, if you have any questions, please feel free to put those in the chat as we go along here.
Yes, because I'm just kind of plugging along over here.
And here, I'll just show you what I've done while we've been sitting here.
Yeah, let's see.
So I need to wire some of these down, but just, you know, if you can
Oh,
see.
yeah, yeah, see? That's beautiful, super full. I love the texture on texture.
Texture on texture. So I'm using all different types of greenery because that's what I have available. So you
Yes.
really can do
Anything.
anything, right, Sue?
Anything. If all you have is grasses, you can do that.
Yeah, I've seen some pretty interesting grass wreaths. And if you look obviously on Pinterest or Instagram,
yeah.
you can find them all over, or Sue's website as well.
Yes.
I definitely encourage you to go to Sue's website. It's so fun to see all of her creations.
We are currently working on it. We just did a little bit of a revamp just to get the winter shop up. And I'm working on getting all of our wedding photos from this year up on there right now. Keeping up with the website is its own thing.
And do you do your own Instagram as well?
I do.
And how many people do you have working for you? Is it just you or?
Right now I have one person working for me part-time.
So that's a lot
Yeah.
to handle when just by yourself.
Yes, I see employees in my future.
I do too.
You know, I think that both, like, so in the summer with Wild Bloom, I usually have 2 employees that work quite off, like I would say both part-time, but up to like 30 hours plus. Neither of them are full-time, but they're probably fairly close. And then we get pretty lean in the winter, but the winters are getting busier and busier. But in the summer, for like the big events, what I was getting at is I hire freelancers. I fly freelancers in from all over the country, depending on the size of the event and the design that it is. So I really reach out to people that I've met, you know, through doing workshops and doing retreats and things like that, who are in the industry. And there's a whole I don't know, a whole side of the business that some people are amazing floral designers, but they don't want to run their own business. So they fly around all year and work for other people.
Who knew? I just learned something. That would be such a fun career.
Yes. I have some really talented friends who just live all over the place. So I have a couple of people that I have freelance come in from British Columbia, but obviously they did not this year. And then I have a couple that I call in from Texas.
And Sue, Bozeman's quite the destination for weddings.
Oh my goodness, is it
crazy, right?
It is quite the destination for a lot of things these days. It feels like a lot of people moving in. It's quite a booming little location right now. So I need to kind of
So are you all the way around?
I have to look at it every so often. I'm gonna kind of use this. Sometimes I use a mirror. It's easier for me to see in a mirror for some reason. Like I do when I do bridal bouquets, I have a mirror by me. Not to look at myself, obviously.
But to look at it.
It gives it like a different, I guess like a different direction for me or something in how I perceive it.
And what is the best way to attach, is it Protease onto a wreath?
Will you say that again, please?
What is the best way to attach Protease onto a wreath? I don't know what that is.
Can I see what you're saying?
Proteas.
Oh, like Protea. I would say,
Protease.
depending on what it is. Do you have one with you?
No, that was in the chat. So.
Oh, okay, great question. Again, if you're using a grapevine, cut it and put it where you want it. It'll hold it. Depending on what kind of variety you have, obviously the stems are, you know, different thicknesses. But I think that if you have like this kind of wreath, you can see here, like the kind of hole that this is gonna have right here. If you just kind of pull it, like that would fit even like one of the bigger ones. I have some dried ones upstairs. I can kind of show you, but yeah, I would find where your placement, because those are so beautiful and they're so big. They're what we consider to be focal floral. And so I would do all of your greening and all of the things that you're going to do first, whatever that is, and then place your protea at the end. Just because they are focal floral, you're going to want them, they're going to want to shine.
Good advice. And I'll have to look up, I'm gonna have to look up proteas because now I'm really curious.
Oh, they're so pretty. And here's one more thing that I didn't mention before is I do always put things in different directions as well. That the protea question got me to thinking about it.
Oh,
Part of the way you give floral arrangements or wreaths or anything like that depth is by changing how the face of the flower is looking at you. So that's going to be the same. We'll kind of talk about it when we get into pine cones. If you put everything like this, it's going to look pretty, it's not going to look as natural than as if you kind of do a couple of them onto the side and then a couple of them in the front in different directions. It helps it to look more natural. Where I'm getting at with the greenery is by putting them in different directions, it allows it to look more natural while also giving it a different fullness.
so then will you start on the inside and go a different direction, or?
No, I just kind of, what I mean is, so like
Yeah,
right
what do you mean by
now, I put this in like pretty flat, like this, along with this one. You see how now they're like kind of like on top of each other?
I see, okay.
What I'll do is I'll take this next piece then. I used all of my pieces already. So I'll take this next piece into the similar place. So this is where those other two were. And I'm gonna put it where it's now gonna come out a little bit more. So I
Oh, I
pull
see,
it
okay.
into the front so that it's not laying on top of each other. So things kind of like start to move around. So I've got my base of the duck fir, which is like pretty, like you could keep this and be fine with this, but now I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna fill it in with this princess pine. I think that the lighting's not excellent in here, so I don't know how well you're gonna be able to see it, but I think that the first photo that was up when our little Zoom started is the wreath from that we created, that we photographed, that went up on our website. So you'll see a final product in better lighting. My studio, we haven't adjusted any of the lighting.
Sue just got this studio not too long ago, so it's a work in progress, but it's doing good stuff, Sue, I've got to say.
Yes, thank you. Yes, we got the studio just, we got access to the studio just in August. And so.
What was the other thing that would last for a long time? The other greenery that would last for a long time?
Say that again?
What's the other greenery that
would last a long time?
You can use like eucalyptus, pretty much any of the evergreens should last a pretty long time. Salal, which is like a lemon leaf, will last a really long time. If you're going to the grocery store for greenery,
I have some of this.
Pretty much any greenery that you find at a grocery store is gonna last you a really long time. All of the foliages for the most part are pretty hardy. Ruscus lasts a really long time. Unless it's something that's like, I don't know. I'd have to think about what wouldn't last a long time, honestly.
I bought some Dusty Miller today. Ooh. And it's not lasting.
Dusty Miller does not last a long time.
Does not last a long time.
No. Dusty Miller
that was a bad purchase.
Dusty Miller is very finicky. Okay, so basically just to give you a little heads up, now I'm going through and I'm just kind of tucking the princess pine here and there. because I'm not going all the way through, I'm just finding little Princess Pine moments where I'm gonna do 3 or 4 pieces in this direction, and then I'm gonna come up here, do 3 or 4 pieces here, and kind of go around the whole thing, putting little Princess Pine moments in alternating directions. Basically, when you're thinking about floral, anytime you walk in, if you ever walk into like an event, or if you're walking into, or even if you're just like looking at, I mean, anything, but since we're talking about wreaths, like looking at wreaths, our eyes have a tendency to follow the like things. And so when you put things in alternating directions, our eyes will follow them and kind of create a story as it goes around.
Mhm.
Unknowingly, we do that. Okay, just about finished with the greenery, then we'll get to the magnolia. I was telling Joni that when I teach workshops in person, there's always wine involved. So most of the people are ready to just hang out with their friends and drink wine and not watch me or listen to me. So I usually do a quick demo and just let people off into the wreath world.
Well, I'm sure that there are some glasses of wine here this evening that have joined you.
As there should be. I thought about having a glass of wine, I'll be honest.
I'll be honest too, I did too.
It might happen after this, I don't know. Okay.
The pine is just so pretty. It's like that dark, forest green. It's just so beautiful.
It's so beautiful. It's the sappiest though. It's just so sappy. And that's why you buy them from other people sometimes, so that you don't get sappy.
Yeah.
But I don't know. The reason that I love teaching workshops, and I can't remember if I said this or not, but it goes back to sort of that creativity that, everybody has. I think that I hear it so often at workshops that I teach that, not that I wouldn't be able to do this, but like, I don't think I'll be good at it, or, my friend coerced me to come here, or, whatever that is. And people always, once you do something creative and just like let yourself be, like, it's very empowering, and it's just such a fun thing to see, because we all really are creative. We just don't always do creative things in our worlds anymore. Or like or the definition of creativity is so interesting, because I have a girlfriend who's an accountant, and she loves spreadsheets, and she talks to me about how creatively she creates her spreadsheets, and I'm like, I bet you're right. I don't know
That's
that.
a new one. I appreciate that, because I don't think they're very creative, but that's awesome
Right?
that she does.
So I appreciate it too, because I use spreadsheets for qualitative things, not very numerically.
So someone said, Sue, that they're drinking a glass of wine and getting into the holiday spirit with some Christmas music in the background. So I love that, don't you?
I love that too. I got a very small tree, and somebody, when I bought my studio, a girlfriend of mine gave me this disco ball that I still haven't used, but I thought it was festive, so I put it out today.
Perfect. I love it.
We're all vicariously living through you wherever you are. Okay. So now, and I might go back and judge this after we get off, but for the purposes of today, I'm gonna call this pretty good.
Beautiful.
I might have to go back.
So beautiful.
Things, but I'm gonna call that good, right? So that's all the greenery. So next I'm gonna do, similar to how I did the pine, the princess pine, I'm just gonna go through and do some little magnolia moments.
And how many sprigs will you use on a wreath that size? Of the magnolia?
Of the magnolia. I was like, of the whole thing?
No, I'm going to ask you for that number.
The magnolia, probably somewhere in like the 5 to 7 range.
Mm-hmm. And always use odd numbers, right?
Yeah, it's a design principle. I think you can do whatever the heck you want and whatever feels good to you. But as a design principle, they say it's an aesthetic that is more agreeable to the psyche. I don't know. So I go with it.
Go with it and do what you will.
Yeah. So I don't want to
But
go
just-
too overboard. I think like less is more in a lot of cases. I also think more is more in a lot of cases. Again, it like goes back to what your kind of design look is. But for this case, because Magnolia can be so they can take up so much space and their color is so bold in a way, the back sides, I end up putting them in and then I go back through and I do what we call editing. So I might go back in and cut a couple of leaves off if I think it's like just too much.
And I think that's fair. That's just kind of like in life, how we edit our life every once in a while. Like, you know, you edit your wreath or your little pieces of greenery, and we edit our life or here and there. And
Exactly. Sometimes you go all in and you're like, well, maybe I should pull back a bit.
maybe I should just step back a little bit and look at this in a different way.
Exactly.
It's a good analogy for life, I think.
There's nothing wrong with a little editing. And so I'm doing the Magnolia in a very similar way to how I've done everything else, kind of in different directions at different points in the wreath. You'll see that this one is kind of coming out of the top of the wreath, while this one is kind of coming from into the middle of the wreath.
Sue, can you go over to your right a little bit? There you go. Perfect. That's beautiful. What a nice addition to have that magnolia in there with the color, that
Right.
bronze color.
The lighting in here is kind of bad, but you can see like that, right? Yeah, and so then you just want to, and then with the Magnolia, you want to turn it so some of that color is shown. That's the other beautiful thing about Magnolia. I mean, besides the fact that it lasts, it's such a beautiful color. And I just love, it's so soft. It's so much texture. I lived in the South for 7 years, so I have a bit of an affinity for Magnolia.
Yeah, we do here in the Pacific Northwest as well.
So good.
So just to kind of give you a time check, we're about 9 minutes to 6.
Okay.
And so, but we can go a little bit longer, as I mentioned earlier.
Oh, okay. Well,
And just so everyone knows, this will be on our YouTube channel, so you can go back and watch Sue's magic.
okay, so this is, did we start at 5?
Yes,
Oh, we're almost an hour in. Oh, shoot.
yes, it just goes so quickly, but this is so fun.
Way more quickly than I anticipated. Okay, so the Magnolia
Gorgeous.
leaves are in. I might do a double check, but you can see I've got about 5 spots in there. I'll probably do another look, and then I'll just give you like a quick heads up about how I do the pine cones. So the pine cones, kind of just find like a really cute spot, similar to how everything else is, make them go in and out. As I mentioned earlier, you're not going to want everything to be out, so just kind of tuck them in, put some of them into the side. So I'm going to have this one.
Sue, would you put the pine cones near the magnolia, or would you separate them out?
I sort of do a little bit of both. I like to do small groupings of things. So I might do like a couple of groupings of just pine cones, and then I might add like a pine cone or two right by the magnolia as well. I don't like things to look really spotty. So I try to keep things kind of grouped. So whether that's pine cones in a group or magnolia plus pine cones in a group. But I don't
Nice.
think but I wouldn't do pine cones in different places the whole way. I don't know
Okay.
if that makes any sense. I don't think that's helpful. That's just an aesthetic preference though.
I think I'll add some pine cones while you're doing that as well.
Okay. So basically, I mean, that's it. And then I'll edit all 10 of these. And I don't think, since we're running out of time, that we need to do all 10 of them and you need to watch me wire everything. But
Right,
essentially,
and you know what? We have a photo of the finished product that I can put on
Yeah, why don't
Instagram
you
and
just do that?
also on Rebel 11 on
Yeah.
our Facebook page. I would like for you to show us the best way to tie a bow? Because that is always a huge question on the best way to do that.
I will admit, I am not very schooled in tying bows. And I don't really use a lot of wired ribbon. And I think wired ribbon is a way that a lot of people like to tie bows. I basically tie a bow like I tie a shoe.
Like you tie a shoe?
I'm kind of, I'll show you. I lost my,
Okay.
let me find some different ribbon.
Because on this one, so I have various different
I can hear you.
various different ribbon here. I have some that I'm not going to use all of these, obviously, but I just wanted to show you there's all different kinds, and then some do have, like this one does come with a wire, but how do we start? So I'm going to start with this one.
Okay, so I would say there's going to probably be a lot of YouTube videos that will be able to show you how to do this.
Okay.
But I would say kind of give yourself, do like a little, kind of like a dummy one almost on what size you want it to be. So, you know, like if you just want to like kind of a standard double loop, or you can always do the like triple, you know, this kind of thing.
Okay.
So do like a dummy. I'm just going to
Okay.
do a pretty standard one. This is obviously wired. And then that's how I'm gonna like decide how much I'm gonna cut it. The trick to ribbon is good scissors. So then, like I said, I don't do anything really crazy and elaborate. So I'm basically gonna I mess with these all the time. I'm gonna do the 2 loops, and then I'm gonna wrap it around. Not gonna be that cute, I'll be honest. I don't think I'm your ribbon gal.
Well, like you said, there's stuff on YouTube, so.
Yeah. I don't do a lot of ribbon. Every time this time of year, I have to relearn.
But I mean, you can tie ribbons in all different kinds of ways.
Oh,
I mean, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
And then would you tie one like maybe using some wire?
This has wire in it. The reason wire is nice is because it lets it keep its form. What I will say, what I make sure to happen when I am using any kind of ribbon, I have a really good pair of shears and always recut the ends. I either like to do the ends at like a slant, or you can do the like this. It just gives it a little bit more of an artistic touch. Or to do the ends where you cut up. There we go. The wire always gets you a little bit. Where you make it like I don't know what this is called.
Oh, that's, yeah, just a little bee.
So that's my
like
ribbon. Find a ribbon that you like, wired or not wired. And then make sure you have some nice shears, and you can have options on how you cut the end. The middle part is I kind of make up as I go.
Okay.
And then that's the wreath. I'll add the bells
Awesome.
and everything else later, and you'll share the picture of the finished.
And Natalia, if you could you just bring up that first image that we had so we can show everyone the finished wreath, and then we'll go on to the tablescapes. So see how beautiful that is with the bells in there and all the different pine cones and the magnolias. So I'll put that image up on Instagram and also on Facebook, as I mentioned. So, but let's move on to tablescapes, because that's very exciting. And again, Sue's company is called the Wild Blume, located in Bozeman, Montana. But I know you're gonna take the camera over and walk a little ways to see what you've set up.
Yes, so follow me. I already put together a table, and I wanted to light these candles, but I didn't know how long it would be. So I probably am gonna grab a matchbox. Let me see, I'm just gonna put you right here for 2 seconds at the table. So now you're
Perfect.
sitting at the table.
We're sitting at, Sue's table in Bozeman, Montana, waiting for a delicious meal to get started, or it's all the smells are in the kitchen and everybody's getting ready to sit down. This
Yeah,
gorgeous
exactly. I
place
didn't
setting.
totally set this up, so in a way that you'll be able to tell. So, let me, as I light these candles, I will kind of give you a little, I don't know how to make this.
Perfect. That's, you know what, Sue, that's perfect.
Okay, good. So when I think about setting a table, I always think about, obviously, I guess it's not obvious, fabric first. So whether you want to do a table runner or whether you want to do a full-on tablecloth, either one works. I really like exposed wood, so I tend to have a table like I have here, and then a table runner. Obviously, you can go and buy table runners all over the at all of, Target has them reasonably priced. I mean, you can buy them online from Crate and Barrel or Pottery Barn or any of those places. I also think like this table runner that's right here, oh my gosh, is actually just a piece of fabric that I found that I really liked at the fabric store. And I bought it and I cut it and then I folded it to shape. Now that's not what you're gonna buy if you were to buy a wild table. I do, however, pick up a lot of the fabric and have somebody locally sew them into table runners. But this one
I love how committed you are to local sourcing, so thank you.
yes, well, you have to support your local people. Everybody's just trying to make it work,
Yeah, I don't know if everybody can see the table runner, but it's like a blue and green plaid. It's beautiful.
Yeah, so like I said, so go to Joanne's or go to your local place, find a fabric that you like that's fun and funky, and you can just cut it down to size if you're doing something at home like that. The next thing I always think about, so I think about the fabric again. Some of these candles didn't want to light, but you can kind of see what that is. We'll probably have to think of a different way to make this happen the next time. And then I think about a napkin. I like to use fabric napkins. So right here, this is a really beautiful, just oatmeal fabric napkin. Has a really nice detail. This actually does come in our Christmas, one of our winter collections this year. But anything that's going to complement your sort of overall aesthetic. Right now, this is, I would say, probably just, I wouldn't call it necessarily rustic, but maybe like a modern farmhouse type of scenario, type of vibe. So fabric for your table, fabric for your guests. I like fabric napkins. Obviously, they're a little bit more maintenance than it would be to just use paper napkins.
But they're so nice. It adds just such a beautiful aesthetic to the table, doesn't it?
It does. I think it adds a nice level of quality as well. And plus they're, eco-friendly. So I think that's always a nice added touch. Okay, so I'm going to give up on my candles.
And then you have a charger underneath the plates. Sue, can you talk about the charger?
I can. So, okay, so in place settings, you can do all sorts of different kinds of place settings depending on what you're serving, depending on at the level of formality. This is called a charger. It is only decorative. It does not really have any, you're not going to eat on it. So basically your charger and then your plates go on top of it. It's sort of like a placemat really, but it's wood or metal or glass. They come in all sorts of different kinds of cute hobnail, whatnot, you name it.
It just adds such a nice additional element to the table.
Yes. The other thing I think that adds a really nice addition to the actual place setting, you can, this is just like a really simple knot. You can do all sorts of different things with your napkins that can change up what the design is. I always like to have another detail though. So for this, I just put another little piece of greenery at the table setting. And you can see that it just adds another nice, I think it adds an intentionality to it. And I think that guests really can feel that. So I always like to include those in all of our collections.
The winter collections have these really cute little brass bells. So if you go on the website, you'll be able to see all of these like really beautiful. It's a lighting thing again in here. But you kind of get it, you can get the idea. The other thing that's really, really important is you can see I have multiple different kinds of candles. So this is just like a standard small votive you can get anywhere. You can get candles anywhere, obviously. I have 2 different colors of taper candles. I don't know, I'm trying. A light green one and a dark green one. Again, sort of just adding the depth to the design. And then I have these really beautiful, and the candle didn't stay lit, but this cut glass. Maybe I'm gonna put this votive in there so we can get the cut glass,
Beautiful.
the candle inside of it. So it kind of reflects the light in a really different way.
Well, and I think one thing that you see here is so much texture that you're using and the various colors to bring out, the tablecloth and then the fir and the pine cones, and it's just such a beautiful combination. So your vision for your companies is beautiful, and your creativity. I'm just so blown away by what we've learned this afternoon, this evening, wherever you are in the world today.
Yes.
And we thank you so much for joining us from Bozeman, Montana tonight.
Yes, thank you for joining me. Thank you for inviting me.
All of the things. And if anybody has questions, I'm sure, she'll let me know, or you'll have my contact information, but I just appreciate your time so much. So thank you.
Yes, and I'm so excited to go and do some more exciting. I'm gonna make more than one wreath because I'm gonna give them as gifts. So thank you so much for all of the teaching that we had tonight.